I'm getting old. It feels like I'm getting old, right? 27 I am. How is Louis Tomlinson? Yeah, I'm doing all right, thanks. I'm doing all right. It's a random Google one. Oh, what does Google? Come to tour and I'll meet you then, hopefully. I eat a lot of rubbish food, probably burgers. I eat a lot of McDonald's, but in terms of the ultimate burger, it probably has to be in now. That is a question I won't be answering. My number's got out quite a few times. I like my own privacy, so unfortunately, I'm not going to do that. I've got two dogs. I've got a golden doodle and I've got a labradoodle, Bruce and Cliff. They're quite different dogs, the two of them. Bruce is like proper well behaved, good lad, proper like pretty dog, you know what I mean? Whereas Cliff, he's big, he's clumsy, he's a thief, because you know, everyone says dogs shouldn't go anywhere near chocolate. I think maybe 2 or 3 Easters ago, he stole a full Easter egg, which I was worried about, but I found out after, I think as long as they don't eat the body weight in chocolate, they're alright, so he lives to fight another day. Well, you can't see that, but it says, is Louis Tomlinson on tour? Not yet, glad you asked. About to go on the road next year. Tickets are on sale. Yeah, my local club, Doncaster Rovers, where I'm from, I was lucky enough one year. I mean, it was a bit of a PR thing on their end, but also they signed me onto the books for a year. I was on the back of the programme every game day. Squadron coach at 28. It's a good time to be around. I mean, in England we're doing all sorts at the moment, like vegan sausage rolls, which feels like a contradiction to me. I'm not a vegan, no, but respect to everyone who is. I'm right-handed, believe it or not. What more have I got to say about am I left or right-handed? Ask your lot. Those depends who you ask me. I think so. I like to think so. Yeah. I love red. I've been trying to incorporate red into pretty much anything I do, really, creatively. And also the football club, anyway. You know, it's not one of those songs that's saying, you know, regardless of what happens in life, you just got to try and be hopeful. That's William. Don't use it that often. I imagine some of my fans know. I ain't ever been in a movie, right? Other than the OneDirection movie. Probably me, Ginger Mate Ollie goes everywhere with me. Lives with me most of the time. Hears the songs first most of the time. Went to school with him, known him for life. I was an X Factor judge. I've also been on the show as a contestant. I was in this band called OneDirection. The mystery was originally written. I was bouncing between different parties and all the nightlife that LA has to offer. And there was moments where I felt like I was kind of just going along with it without really enjoying it so much. And that's kind of what that song was about. The Donny Rovers. Going far back, Tickle Juniors, Sunday League team, local area. It was the first team that I joined, called Tickle Juniors. I think it's still going. In fact, I got a mildly cheeky email from them pretty recently asking for some funding. So I'll be in touch. Nothing more to say about it. If you haven't been, you should go. Great holidays. I absolutely love where I come from. Great people where I'm from. And LA and London, and also try and get to Doncaster as much as I can. Quite a drastic jump, quite a different jump. It's just forever hot here and there. I'm just talking about that, we're about to get into November and it's red hot and I'm just a trooper in it's winter. Here, doing this little piece to camera for you. When I went to the X Factor, basically, long story short, the judges see thousands of people, you know, across how many days. So I wanted to be at the start of the audition, so I started queuing up at like 4 a.m. Because I wanted to be one of the first to be seen. Christmas Eve, 1991. Thanks, happy birthday. Everyone's in a good mood. Starts March next year. Goes all the way through to June, July. Super excited to come on tour. I feel like I've been waiting my whole solo career for this moment, so I'm pretty excited about that one. You're talking about when I started with the band, on our first tour, I did a cover of Amy Winehouse, Valerie. Maybe you're asking when I might sing that again. The answer is no. I performed it a few times. It came out off the top of my head, I think 2017. So I did my first performance for that was on the X Factor. You know, I'd never done a solo performance on my own, and the X Factor was always a big performance for us as a band. So to come back and do that on my own was both exciting and nerve-wracking. So that's one, right? Tomlinson. Louis Tomlinson, cute again. Not sure how to react to this one, other than saying thanks that I have many of, quite a few stupid ones. I'm trying to look at which one the latest one was. Probably this horrible one that I got from the X Factor. Straight lines, dirty birds. Well, I've got blue eyes, but I'm not gonna lie, my eyes do slightly change colour. Wearing a blue top, look a bit bluer. What they're looking like today, I don't know. Normally blue. I ain't had that many of them. To be honest, I've had like 3 in rotation for the last like 9 years. What's pretty funny about my hair though is, you know, from being in a band like OneDirection, I've almost forgot how to do my own hair. It's pretty tragic that, isn't it? You know what I mean? I'm looking to have someone doing my hair, but then there's times where I go on a night out and I'm looking at it thinking, to be honest, I don't even know how to start. So it's quite happen. That is the band I am in, was in, whichever way you look at it. Don't really know what else to say about that good time in my life. Hopefully we come back. Name of one of my songs, so I assume you bang that into Google and my song will just pop straight up. Give it a listen if you want. Did it with Bieber Rexa. I did the music video in Doncaster where I'm from, so again that was special for me. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah man, it's definitely hard, and it took me, you know, a good year, 18 months. Anyway, if I could speak, if that's alright, look. You know, when I spent a long time trying to find exactly what my sound was, and to be fair, when I first went out on my own, I wasn't even sure that I was definitely going to make a solo record. Kind of one thing led to another. I kind of had to learn on the job who I am as an artist, you know, because I don't really look at myself as a band. So all of a sudden I had to look at myself as an artist, as an individual. So I took a little bit of time. If I'm being honest, I just wasn't ready for the band to go on a break, to be honest. Yeah, you know, it surprised me to a certain degree. So I didn't have any planning this or anything like that. I think I just thought that I was going to carry on writing for other people, so for myself, and then, you know, like I'm sure a lot of people in this situation, I didn't really write, and I liked some of the songs I was writing, and I thought, yeah, I might as well have a crack with this. Who's got the phone? I think it's quite evident, you know, even in the performance or even in situations like this, that I just feel a lot more comfortable with what I'm doing now. Because what I knew OneDirection was, you know, chasing radio and getting as big a moment as possible. It's kind of all I really feel, so that my expectations will be unrealistic. I didn't know that. You know, so I kind of had to work and kind of make it something that was safe. And that I thought was especially with that Steve song. I love and respect Steve, and I love that song. It's a special song to me. Sonically, never really relate to those sounds, you know. So yeah, I just thought if I'm going to do this, you know, and it takes up a lot of time, obviously, and it's just something I really love. So I feel good about that. You know, I've learned a lot on the job really, and that was one of those situations where I do think I had to go through that stage of writing, working with like specific producers that maybe weren't right for me. Now, at the time, I had to learn. I've always been pretty good at standing up for myself and getting my own way to a certain degree. I think what I've learned mostly about being out on my own, which is kind of an extension of what you just said, is I've learned to just put more. And you know, I've said it's a lot of people like to say, and I just got to stand strong and say, no, this is okay. Yeah, I've seen them live 2 or 3 times now, every time at a festival. But I think the first festival I ever went to, which was Leeds Festival. Yeah, Vampire Weekend were playing there, I think. So amazing band, and that's from Cousins. I always loved that from being young. Used to play neighbours, so that's great. And also just in general for the playlists, it's been really fun for me to kind of show the fans exactly what I like listening to. And you know, there's other people who come up to me and said, I've never heard of this song before, this artist before, and you know, someone plays something cool or whatever. That's what I love. I've always been amazed by Amy Winehouse, you know, incredible writer, and I have to talk about her level of detail, because I'm a lyricist. that's actually where I definitely like the hundreds before. Well, yeah, I mean a little bit now as well, but when I was younger, I did like shut off a bit, make people laugh. It's actually the song that closes the album. Only song on the album that I didn't rhyme, so it gives a slightly different sound, a slightly different dynamic to it all. On the first listen, I mean, you know, every now and then, more at the start, less now. I often, you know, I'd often get sent management or labour or different songs. Normally, I like to be in the room. I've been back, honestly. Any more laughing? More musically than anything, the song really stood out to me, and I thought it almost works as a nice little novelty to bring the rest. And this one is, you know, it's like. I wish I could give you a more interesting answer to this, to be honest. I only really knew once I heard it. I didn't realise it because it's quite slow. I just wrote this song about 2.5 years ago, maybe even longer now. I've said this about 20 times already. Yeah, well, about 2.5 years ago, I did it with Julian and John, who I've done a lot of OneDirection stuff with. And I think I just wanted to be further on in the writing process so I could go boom, 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 release some music. I think that was a good song. I wanted to be further on the writing. Yeah, I have been asked this today and I've not had a good answer at all. And yeah, do you know what? I wish I had something more imaginative, and some people probably bullshit this situation. You know, every single tour we do goes without saying, but being in small rooms, you know, when we were first in the band for the first 6 months, we did this little radio tour across played really tiny gigs, the smallest gigs we ever played, and we were all saying some of our favourite shows, something really special. So yeah, really excited. You know, we experienced what we went through. The only people who can relate to that is, you know, each of us. So we always have respect for each other. And in the same way, you know, we used to wind each other up in the band. And used to get on each other's nerves. I don't know, I think going into the band, feels slightly different now, but going into the band, I was the oldest. Even if the boys thought it or not, I always felt a little bit of responsibility, you know what I mean, on that level. And I think in those situations, I've always been pretty approachable for me or any of the boys to be honest, to chat or whatever. So, I'm honoured that you said that, that's fucking nice. Normally we're just like, in the last couple of months, we won't speak to each other that often, but you know, I'll ring him and we'll speak on phone for a good 3 hours. And cover everything to intertwine, obviously. You know, we're talking about something in your work life, and you'll say the same kind of thing, and you know, it's important. Okay, it's a crazy job. I think, you know, like most of them have got a pretty rubbish storyline, man. There's not many, but it's always important creatively to not work too much, because there's a limit to how much you can do. I think just be confident in what you do. I think sometimes, like writing's block, you know, if you have one day writing it's not very good, and you go in the next day and the next day's not very good, it can kind of snowball. I think it depends on the situation, it depends how long you've been working and writing. I did have a moment on this record where I did need to take a break from writing because I felt like I was writing every single new concept every day. There's a lot to think about, obviously. I can't think of anything specific. There's some lyrics in Champagne Supernova, Oasis, how to say an Oasis, that I think I really thought though really interesting in terms of that. But in general, it was more of a sound thing than a lyric thing. I spoke before, kind of for a second, I felt like a good music. And then I found a really amazing playlist and started playing some of the older stuff that I used to like listening to. And Sam Fender is in the way he sounds music. It made like that was like really impressive. Like, this is how it's meant to be. So yeah, to a certain degree, for like different reasons, Kill My Mind was that song because I had to be brave and like be like, this is wrong. But to a certain degree, you know, from writing, especially the kind of stuff that, you know, we wrote in the band, that was kind of a bold step for me to say, this is who I want to be. I mentioned it today, and I like that we made it. I like that lyric that says, I don't know why they put me in the song is right, so yeah, I don't know the job. It's quite thought-provoking, and I think fans hearing that say, why have you got that bird? Before you know it, you're talking about freedom, and you talk about, you know what I mean? And you're like, but really? You've just got it because it looks cool, you know? I think some people definitely obviously get really meaningful ones, that's nice, but you also get those people who try and find a meaning in a cool looking tattoo. Well, I've had some little ones, like I've got this one on my hand. I actually, funnily enough, got one that was a dare on my arse. I remember exactly how it went down now. But yeah, I ended up with a penguin tattooed on my arse. Which, you know, is like really sexy thing. To be honest, I have waited for a while, other than the low hands. I haven't really had any for a while, so I'm not necessarily itching. I could just always, like literally, always get this tattoo. Right, just quickly, I remember this, but just side note, I'm being serious. Next time I have an interview, I want to get a tattoo to me. 5-10 minutes, but yeah. I don't know, honestly, I don't know. So the album. Yeah, so it became apparent to me when because I've got maybe 75% of the album done, right? By the way, this figure in each interview, I just changed. 72% done. But it became apparent to me that it was kind of telling a story naturally anyway, just from the stuff that I've been writing. And in general, the stuff is very, very personal, very honest. Maybe more honest than people are normally willing to go and pop. I just think there's a lot of songs that describe this Hollywood amazing relationship, and for good or for worse, it always sounds a little Hollywood and a little kind of film scripty, kind of not really. Do you understand what I'm saying? Growing up and listening to bands like Oasis and Arctic Monkeys, they say it so matter of fact, and that, you know, to me that's really exciting. So hopefully, although we do know a lot about it, hopefully the fans will learn something more from kind of getting to know. It's probably the last 2 or 3 years of my life, yeah. And I mean, I've got maybe another 2 songs to fit in, but I have to make them fit chronologically, you know what I mean? So I have to have a moment in those 3 years. I mean, any of my fans will know, I spent, 18 months, 2 years of my life just kind of real different to how I'd been in the past, and just went out all the time, partying, drinking all the time, whatever. And then I kind of realised that I was a bit of an idiot during those times, and I found my way back to that's just one of the stories. And just in general, I think a lot of guys go through this, you almost feel, like you've got to go through that stage in your life, but that was never me. So it's kind of just telling that story, really, because some songs will make you feel like I was in the moment, and like, yeah, I'm really enjoying this, we're in the club, this is great, but you'll be able to feel there's an underlying kind of situation, have an understanding of. But the songs are written in present tense, so it's as if it was there. So like, at the start of the album, it starts, and there's one song that's kind of up-tempo, and it's about going out one night after the other, being able to go out again together. And then as a contrast, right at the end of the album, there's a really honest, sad track kind of reflecting about the whole time how wrong it was. So hopefully, it's not going to be too deep, it's not going to be like, something from it, hopefully. From the fans' perspective, I just want them to be able to understand more of who I am as an artist as well. Yeah, but if I'm being honest, this is me being pedantic, I didn't write this song from personal reference, right? Because this song is talking about a relationship of 2 people that maybe shouldn't be. Back to you. It's talking about maybe it's not the most practical thing, and they don't know why, but they keep finding their way back. That's absolutely not me. However, to work on the chronological thing, it kind of does work on the album, but that song in particular is probably the least personal across the album. I wrote that, it was an opportunity for me to, instead of being so heavily involved emotionally with it, it was nice to have a song that I could write from reference to the point of we've all got friends like that and those kind of relationships, you know what I'm saying? So it was kind of cool to be able to write from their perspective, because the rest of the album is all love. There's a couple of songs that, maybe we could give to there's one song that I'm really excited about. It looks like it's going to get taken by someone else. That's really exciting for me. Nick, who's really cool, maybe 3-4 years older than me. But it's just, this is one thing I think is difficult with music. He's so good at being minimal. Often people overcomplicate things and think about the sound so hard, but he's very minimal in the way he works. And for me, that's why I like especially being like a northern British guy. When another guy's looking at you, maybe he's recognising it. Sometimes comes across a little bullshit, you know what I mean? You're thinking, well, what are you looking at? And then you might recognise me. But there's definitely certain places, and by the way, it's always random. I could never go to the same place and say I never get recognised here. So it kind of just happens on different days. I think it's harder to be incognito when, like, say, I'm doing a radio tour in like New York, and then every detail's online. It's all exciting. I mean, exciting is a difficult. It's just an impossible thing to be able to comprehend anyway. The fact that my hotel might be on Twitter and people might know where it is. Even something like that is a very hard thing to ever kind of comprehend or ever really understand, because it's about using individuals. It's kind of crazy. So they quite recently, I mean, it used to be rare that someone would come up to me and say, look, I want a tattoo, a lyric, or whatever, and then something related to me or OneDirection. But like quite recently, just a surge of it recently, like the last 3-4 months, a lot of people come up to me, and often, there's kind of a lot of people to meet, so it's kind of quick fire. So before I know it, it's like a girl right in my face, and she's like, hey, write me a tattoo. And I'm like, okay, what? And she's like, I don't know. And then I'm like, but to be fair though, this is a lot of pressure for me. You're gonna have this on your body for the rest of your life. You're just saying to me, write anything. You know what I mean? It's a difficult thing to. So I normally just do my little signature X's smiley face, but you could write anything. I could quickly Google what a swear word is in Chinese and write that, and she might have it done. Next time I am gonna call the bluff. I mean, it's probably a little cruel, but I'm gonna do it. But I've kind of got 2 dates in mind. There's a date. If I wanted it at the end of the year, I'm going to have to rush it a little bit. I don't really want to do that. And who knows, I might be in a position where after I finish this program, I'm going to write in there, I feel like I'm in a good enough place to. But I want to be 1,000% sure I do that. So either at the end of this year or the start of next year. A little bit, yeah. I think it's still going to take time, It's just, I think what helped me definitely is, having Steve there, starting having BB here now for the performance. I mean, don't get me wrong, before Jimmy Fallon, like a week ago, I was really nervous. I actually, I started off the song, sat on the drum kit. Now, I warned our drummer that I might leave behind a little poo. It looked like I didn't, it looked like I escaped that. But I was so nervous. But actually, for one of the first times being on my own, I did get a really good feeling after, a real kind of sense of accomplishment. So I do feel more confident going into team chores. And let's just be honest about this stuff, you know what I mean? I think a lot of artists will say, oh yeah, I'm super confident, strip it back, I'm not sure if they are, It's always just better. I'll tell you what it is. I mean, I've always felt like to a certain degree I've got a point to prove on the other way, right? So in those moments, it was like, like say for example, there was a song in OneDirection called No Control that I sang before. I was always really excited by it. The fan reaction was great. But on that song, I was so nervous right up until my part. So now, it kind of just feels like that on stage across the whole thing. So I got to get used to feeling really comfortable and, owning the performance, which is something that is going to take time for me. Because also, it's easy for let's say a rock star or a rapper, because they think they are the #1 coolest, sickest, best looking guy in the world, and they believe it. Of course, it's easy to carry that on stage, whereas if you don't think you're the coolest individual in the world, you kind of got to, you got to work on the craft and work on what looks right and feels. I think it's important, yeah, definitely. I mean, we're all just real people. Some of us get lost along the way, but I haven't. Because that's why actually I wouldn't call it stage fright. It is all anticipation. There is some times where I'm just thinking of a million different scenarios, but actually, then from the minute I go on stage, it's like, it's kind of a stupid analogy, but you can be driving on a motorway and you you've been going 5 minutes and you're just on autopilot and you just drive and you just concentrate, you're just on autopilot. And sometimes that happens when I'm on stage, you know, I'll go into it and think, right, I need to sing this part like this, phrase this like this, make sure I sing this part with my chest voice strong, blah, blah, blah. It just all goes out the window. You're literally you're not really there, you're just in the moment. It's a bit crazy. So then afterwards, I'm kind of like kicking myself, like, that was kind of stupid for me to get so worked up about. Okay, exactly, and you know, there might be a certain point, like maybe in the middle eight, that I'd rehearsed over and over and over again with my vocal coach. To a certain degree, it just doesn't matter. I mean, maybe it's just me, but when I get up on stage, just everything like that, I just go into autopilot. That's why my preparation up until then has got to be a good point, because you're just in the moment and taking it in and enjoying it and seeing, you know, the fans' faces and stuff like that. That's also why it's more anticipation for me, because, you know, we're lucky enough to have a really supportive fan base, so when even just the initial connection that you get, it makes you feel super small, take like 5-10 minutes, so it's not too heavy on radio. Thank you.